Welcome to The Break Room, the podcast where the best work convos happen. We're joined today by your hosts, including workplace psychologist Ben,
Hi.
your favorite Gen Z colleague Jaya,
Hello.
and your podcast producer Isle. That's myself. Today's episode, we'll be talking about the Sunday Scaries. So, what is the Sunday Scaries? Well, the Sunday Scaries are that wave of anxiety or dread that creeps in on Sunday evening, right before the work week starts. It's the racing thoughts, the stomach knots, and the I can't believe Monday is tomorrow feeling that so many of us know too well. In this episode, we'll unpack why Sunday Scaries happen in the first place, how they're tied to anticipatory anxiety and work life balance, and why they feel so universal across generations. We'll share our own Sunday Scaries experiences, get expert insights on the psychology behind them, and talk about how Gen Z sees the work anxiety compared to other generations. All right. So now that we've set the stage, we know what Sunday Scaries means. I want to kick things off with a roundtable question for everybody. What does your version of Sunday Scaries look like, Jaya?
For me, I think I usually start to feel the Sunday scaries pretty late, like around 10 or 11 in the evening, just right before bedtime or when I go to sleep. So when I set my alarm and start checking my calendar for Monday, that's usually when I start to think about like Monday work. Usually I'm just winding down, maybe just scrolling on Facebook or Instagram or watching something light. And then suddenly my brain kicks in like, oh, wait, did I check my calendar for tomorrow? Am I ready for that meeting? Or did I reply to that email that like on time? And it just turns into a mini spiral. But I've noticed that I feel it more when I didn't really enjoy my weekend, like when I just let it pass without doing something fun or meaningful. But if I actually had a good weekend, stayed active, or spent time with people, then I'm usually fine. I feel recharged and excited for the Monday. And so, yeah, the Sunday scaries are real, but I think they hit different depending on how I spent my time. How about you, Al?
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel as well. And for me, yes, I definitely experience Sunday scaries very deeply. And my version is ever since kind of moving out and living independently from my family, I find that Sunday or the weekend in general is so important to me in terms of housekeeping. And Sunday is my sacred day of cleaning my apartment, getting groceries, going to church. And if I miss to do any of those three things, I feel like I'm screwed for the rest of the week. Because like if Monday rolls around and I don't have eggs, I don't have chicken, I don't have like bread or something, I don't have fresh clothes, or there's something sticky on the floor, I didn't get to clean it over the weekend. I feel like it sets the start of my week to a really bad start because you want to start your week afresh. And if you don't have like the groceries, the food, like your fresh clothes, you didn't do any of those things on a weekend, for me it feels like a bad start to my week. And so yeah, that's how I feel, is kind of the Sunday scaries is dependent on whether I prepare for the week ahead or not. And yeah, that's my Sunday scaries experience. How about you, Ben?
So it's so cool. I'm learning a new term again, Sunday scaries. And I think for me, there's a difference between the Sunday dread and the scaries. I guess the dread is like something that I'm not looking forward to. Um, like, the feeling that the weekend is so short and then is coming to an end. So I kind of that is the dread for me. The scaries are more of anxiety, fear, and scared. So for me, I think that's the distinction that I want to make as I think about this Sunday scaries, that is more related to anxiety, fear, and that feeling of being really scared. So I get dread a lot. Like I feel that the weekend is too short and I want to do more things. And thankfully, I don't get a lot of scaries. But once I can remember when I go overseas for offsite workshops and trainings, right, or consulting jobs. And because it's a new environment, and I always have this fear that I will I will wake up late, I will miss the transport. I don't know if there's going to be traffic. I don't know if the clients are going to hate me, the people are going to hate me, or I'm not fully prepared. I didn't bring enough things. So that is like my version of the Sunday scaries. And I guess it's I get more of that when I'm in a new environment, like in an overseas assignment where I don't have the comfort of things in my house that I can pack for a workshop in the morning. That all the things are already packed there. Yeah. So that's uh that's my experience.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ben. And it sounds like everybody's personal experience is kind of tied to being unprepared for something, and that's when we kind of feel that dread. It's also really interesting how you differentiated dread and scaries. I think also coming from a psychology background, you have this very specific definition, whereas I'm like, I feel scared on Sundays. So that's really interesting in sharing our own experiences. But I also want to dig into the psychology behind this. And with we have our expert workplace psychologist in the episode, Ben, who can help us dissect the psychology behind this. And so we have a few questions for you. The first being, why does anxiety spike on Sundays? In this particular context with Sunday scaries, why do you think that there's a spike in anxiety when expecting the new week to roll around?
Mm. There's going to be 4 points that I want to
Mhm.
like address. This. The first one is the loss of control and transition stress. Like Sunday marks like a shift from rest, like a weekend, to responsibility, right? Like work. So these transitions sometimes can cause people to feel anxious about that loss of freedom, entering into structured time, or facing unresolved tasks, things that I haven't completed yet. So there's that loss of control and transition stress. The second one is the unfinished mental loops. Things like I didn't get enough rest, I'm already behind, and maybe there's this feeling of guilt. I didn't spend time enough with my family, with my children. I didn't get this task done. I didn't run that errand. So there's all these things, and there's this psychologist that talked about this Zernick effect, where the brain fixates on the incomplete tasks. So Sunday just becomes a very painful reminder of all the unfinished things that we are doing. So that causes that anxiety and that stress to us. The third one is hyperactive imagination. So what is this hyperactive imagination? Our brain is very interesting. It will try to anticipate, right? What the week or what the day is going to be like, so that we can pre-experience the threats. Whether is it traffic, deadlines, performance criticisms, project reports, before they happen. So it is like this imagination, right? And so that cause those feelings of anxiety. And it is also very emotionally taxing and sometimes irrational, because we get those what if loops, like, oh, what if this happened? What if this happened? And stuff like that. And the fourth point is social and cultural conditioning. So this is like how, whether is it on TikTok, on social media, and they have like Monday blues, Sunday scaries. So when they have all these hashtags, and what happens is the whole idea of Monday equals to misery, right? And Sunday equals to like end of rest. So all this becomes socially reinforced through memes, through media, and through peer conversations. So this social cultural conditioning just like sets us up, and put us into that environment. So those are the 4 points why that anticipatory anxiety spike on Sunday: loss of control and transition stress, unfinished mental loops, hyperactive imagination, and social and cultural conditioning. Yeah, I hope that gives some context.
Oh, that's really interesting. Because Ben always say that you're learning new terms from us, but then at the same time, I'm also learning a lot of new terminology and theories. Like I know about like when our brain fixates on incomplete tasks, but I just learned that it's actually called Zeigarnik effect, and there's actually an explanation to that. And I also agree that I guess somehow that there's this social and cultural conditioning. Like when I'm on social media on a Sunday, then I always see these memes about how they dread for Monday and that they're already scared and then they wish for the weekend to be extended. But yeah, I'm also curious then. So how can people reframe this anxiety to make Monday less overwhelming?
Yeah, and this is something that I do as well, and I hope it's useful. So I think one of the important things we need to understand is um like okay, so we talk about um for fear, right? FEAR, false experiences appearing real, you know. So I just want to start with this first because when we experience anxiety and fear, a lot of it is because we are living in the future where we are anticipating things that haven't happened yet. And the higher the level of anxiety is usually tied to higher stakes. And the things that makes us most anxious are usually least likely to happen because we go into that mental loop, right? So I just want to start with that a lot of times the anxiety that we feel is tied to living in the future and experiencing that false experiences appearing real. So with that, there are a few things that we can do to prepare ourselves, right, to reframe this anxiety. So the first one is to acknowledge it because sometimes we want to park it and say, oh, I don't want to think about it anymore. I want to distract myself. I want to go and watch something and all, even though you feel the stomach churn and stuff like that. So the first important thing is to acknowledge and to recognize that you are experiencing some level of anxiety, fear, or stress. Because when we acknowledge it, then it actually makes us feel less stressed because we already label it. If not, we'll be feeling, why am I feeling this way? It's just work, but why do I get those knots? So acknowledging and recognizing is the first step. Second is to allocate time for it. So now if I'm feeling this, right? So allocating time could be to, okay, I'm going to put aside like maybe 15 minutes and I'm going to set a timer for 15 minutes. And in these 15 minutes, I'm going to make a list of all the worst thing that can happen on a Monday or during the week. So when I make down all the lists, I'm giving attention to whatever that's in my head. I'm not saying that these are not important, please go away, but I'm allocating time and space for it to just make a list of all the worst things that can happen. And the third thing that you need to do is to look through the list, right? After you look through the list of the worst thing that can happen, and just mark out the ones that are most likely to happen. And when we have the items that are most likely to happen, then we will be able to find solutions. Just focus on those that are most likely to happen and cross out those that are least likely to happen, and then focus on finding solutions to those things so that we can mitigate risk and assert control. So let me give you an example, right? So earlier I was talking about how when I go overseas for projects and assignments, that I have this fear that I'm going to wake up late, they're going to hate me, and I'm not going to be prepared and stuff like that. So that feeling and emotion is real, you know. So the Sunday scaries as an emotion, as fear, as anxiety is real. So what I would do in that scenario is to allocate time to say, okay, yes, I'm feeling this anxiety right now. Okay, I'm going to give 15 minutes for me to write down what's the worst thing that can happen. And I'm making a list like they will hate me, I'll forget my things, I'll blank out, my slides are not going to work, and then my computer is going to fail, blah, blah, blah. So I'll make a list of all those things. And then I'll look at what is the most likely to happen. So waking up late is a possibility, right? So if I circle waking up late, not prepared, and they and that they don't like me, so then if I identify those three things, then I will look at what can I do to make sure that it doesn't happen. Can I set alarm? Can I get my wife to call me in the morning, just as a backup, just in case my alarm fail? And can I just make sure my phone is charged, just before I sleep? So these are things that helps to mitigate that waking up late. And if they don't like me, how, right? So I need to arm myself with jokes, with tools, with activities, with energizers, and uh, I would also remember to find a few allies, find a few people that are friendly faces, talk to them before the training and workshop. So go there early and build relationship first. So these are things that I can do, to address what are the most likely to happen. So on that note, if I can summarize, right, like acknowledging and recognizing it, to allocate time and space to make a list of worst things that can happen, to find out what are the most likely to happen, and then find the solutions to those that are most likely to happen so they can mitigate risk and assert control back. So this is how we can prepare for that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I also saw some videos in the past whenever I would feel these types of anxieties, if there's a big project coming up or like if it's my first job or something, there's always kind of that anxiety as well, expecting something new. And I saw a tip that someone gave online that when your mind is cluttered, try to list things down. Anything that's kind of occupying your mind, it feels like a lot if you're just keeping it in. But if you list it down, then it becomes tangible tasks that you can actually check off. And I find that that's really helpful. And now that you just mentioned it, it's actually there's a psychology behind kind of it's almost as if you're reorganizing your thoughts and writing them down, and then they become like tangible things that you can do and actually schedule out throughout your week. So I think sometimes our minds can be our own um like can be our own villain or something where we have all these things that we need to do, but then it kind of makes it seem like it's the end of the world because we have all these things, there's no more time, a lot of weight on my shoulders, and like it just keeps replaying some of the things that you're worried about. But
Mm,
actually if you try to reorganize your thoughts and list things down, then it becomes like, oh, it's actually not that bad. It feels like a lot because it's inside your mind mentally, but then writing it down makes it feel like it's manageable. So it's really
yeah.
interesting that you kind of said the same thing. I was like, oh, I saw a similar tip on like on TikTok or something.
Yeah. And on that note, right, like um one of the things that is important that we need to know is that the experience of anxiety is real, like it's not imagined and all, it's the experience, the emotional experience, the load is real. And so if we focus on that experience and the encounter, I'm very curious to hear from you, both of you. Like um, you know, do you think that the Gen Z feels the Sunday scaries more because of remote work blurring lines? Do you think that is a possible reason, right? Maybe we hear from Jaya. You want to share with
Yeah.
us?
Yeah, I think there's definitely truth to that because with remote work, the boundaries between personal time and work have gotten super blurry. Like I have this friend, she just gave birth to her daughter, and then she's working and taking care of her baby at the same time. And so like this blur between time, like work time and personal life. And you might be lying in bed on a Sunday night, casually scrolling, and then suddenly, boom, you see a message or an email notification in your form in your. I'm sorry, I think I have to restart the whole thing. I am my tongue is. Wait, let me start again. Just cut to that time. All right. Okay. Yeah, I think there's definitely some truth to that, Ben, because with remote work, the boundaries between personal time and work have gotten really super blurry. Like I have this classmate before, she just gave birth and then she's taking care of her child and at the same time working. And so like the boundary isn't really there. And you might be lying in bed on a Sunday night and just casually scrolling on social media and then suddenly on your phone you see notification about work or an email, and just like that, your brain shifts into work mode. So I think it creates this low key anticipatory anxiety because you never fully disconnected. Unlike an on site job where you are 100% disconnected because you don't have access to work app. And so even if you get emails or updates at work, you don't see it in your home because you don't have access to your computer or personal app. And so there's this 100% boundary. And I think for a lot of us in Gen Z, we started our careers during or right after the pandemic. And so remote or hybrid setup is what we kind of know. And so we're still figuring out how to set boundaries and what balance even looks like. So yeah, I think that plays a big role in why Sunday scaries hit differently for our generation. But I think for me, I've learned over the years to balance more compared to before. And so I always plan things for the weekend and get the most out of it. Ultimately, it's about knowing what's good for you and what actually helps you feel recharged. Some would like prepare on a Sunday and they wouldn't really feel scared because for them, it helps them prepare for the Monday. But for others, it makes them feel dreadful because they started in this loop. So I think there's no specific one size fits all strategy on how to deal with it. But I think self awareness really helps so that you would know what really works for you so that you won't dread so much. How about you, Isle?
Yeah, everything you said made so much sense because I totally relate to that as well. And for me, I think yes. I think Gen Z does also feel like the Sunday scaries a little bit more because of remote work. I think a little bit because with regular jobs, I feel that there's a disconnect from work and home. So you go to the office to work, you come back home to rest, and then there's those two separate spaces for you to operate in that manner. Whereas if you work remotely, you kind of share the same space for rest and work. And so I think even physically, there's a blurry line between that. So, like for example, my sister, she works in person at the office, and her company, they offer like packed lunch for their employees every day, and they get to choose like a menu at the end of each week. So in that situation, in that context, my sister doesn't have to go grocery shopping on Sundays to prepare her work lunch because she already has that settled. That's already kind of offered at work. And versus remote work, where in this context, in my example, because I work remotely and also because I live alone, I have to prepare all my dishes myself. And the best time to do that is on Sunday. So that's why I meal prep, because like I put things in little bags so that when Monday I take one bag for lunch, Tuesday I take another bag for lunch. And so that helps me kind of alleviate the cooking time and just kind of the errands that I need to do. And so I feel that that also kind of contributes to Sunday scaries is because we work remotely, there's kind of like there's no separation with work and home. Everything's kind of shared in one space. Whereas with I think with regular people who work office jobs, there's a clear separation of when they're in the office and they rest. So I think yeah, there's a pro and con to both that side. I think it also kind of depends on your preference of work, your preference of how you want to live. And so it's really dependent, but I also do think that it contributes to the Sunday scaries type of feeling. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and I can relate with the remote and the shared space compared to having that separation of space, right? And so and this is becoming so prevalent right now. And you know, I'm so curious. So what do you guys do to distract yourself on Sunday nights? What are some of the things that you guys do? Jin, do
Well,
you want to
I
go
think,
first?
yeah, I think to be honest, I don't really feel the need to distract myself on Sunday nights. I don't see it as a distraction, more like spending or like enjoying your weekend. And so I usually make the most out of my weekends, whether that's going on a road trip or just going out, have a date night, visiting family, or watching movies, or even just cooking and catching up on house chores. I like having that balance of fun and rest. And I make sure I get enough sleep without having to set an alarm. So that's my favorite because every night I set my alarm and check my calendar. Oh, do I have to wake up a bit earlier than my regular schedule, or do I get to sleep and just not set my alarm? And so every weekend or on a Friday night, I would like turn off all of my alarms and just wake up when my body feels like it, and I like that. And then I would normally like plan something in the afternoon and just enjoy the day. So I think because I intentionally fill my Saturday and Sunday with things that recharge me, by the time Sunday night comes around, I feel a little bit more ready to face the week ahead and feel excited about it. What about you, I?
Yeah, I totally relate to that. For me, the way I try to distract myself from Sunday scaries is because I like to do my groceries on Sundays. I also like to meal prep on Sundays. So all of the things that I bought, I chop them up and I put them in little plastic bags. Recently, I've also learned to chop up garlic and then put a little oil in it so that when you cook for the next 2 to 3 days, you can just cook garlic because you don't have to spend like 5 minutes chopping up mincing garlic. So that's also been one of my routines is more on meal prepping. As much as I've learned to cook, I also want to shortcut the cooking process. So just I find that preparing all the individual ingredients on Sundays helps. And so on Sunday night, I like to meal prep while watching a movie. And I feel like that's how I catch up with the world or like with the media is catching up through movies or TV shows, which I really like. I have a passion for movies and TV shows, and I also feel like that's how I count my weekends now. If I saw this movie or that movie, it's almost like a bingo card that you get to track on the whole month of how many movies have I watched this month. And so, like last week, I watched the F1 movie with Brad Pitt. I think that's a really nice movie as well. And overall, I like to do activities that help me unwind during the weekend. And so that could be something as simple as, like what Jaya mentioned, sleeping, or for me, it's also going to the gym or going to the cafe or even just kind of walking around the mall to get free air conditioning. It's like stuff like that, as simple as that, just kind of taking a bit of time to unwind on the weekend. And then on Sundays is when I do most of like the labor work of prepping. And I think that's how I deal with Sunday Scaries. Obviously, because it's been some time that we started working remotely. I think through time, trial and error, and experience, you kind of figure out what routine works for you and what activities make you feel energized. So for other people, traveling might be something that energizes them. For me, traveling is something that drains me because it's like there's all this travel time and you go there and you have to come back. And so when you come back, you have all this laundry to do, and then there's like dust on your countertops or something. And so you wouldn't really know that until you experience it yourself and you kind of figure out what routine works for you, which activities actually makes you feel energized. And so I think with that, just kind of figuring out what works for you and what routine works for you, what routine works and what doesn't. That's kind of how I dealt with Sunday scarings. And also, just like the last bit is, I take a quick peek of the calendar just to know which days I have a meeting or not, or like if I have to wake up early because the meeting's in the morning, or if I can do it later because the meeting's in the afternoon. So just kind of taking a quick peek. So there's something that you look forward to the next day. So that's how I deal with Sunday scaries. And I'm actually curious to know, when what do you do to distract yourself on Sunday nights?
Yeah, and I think Sunday nights, Sunday for us is like church day, and so we'll go church, do all the activities, try to go out and eat something. I think a lot of our um activity kind of centers around food, and so that's one of the things. And in the evenings, we will watch something, and whether it's a movie or stuff like that. And at 10, um, then my wife would call her mom, and so after the call, we will kind of start to unwind or look at my calendar to see what's ahead. So at least there's a little bit of a mental prep of what needs to happen. Yeah, so that's pretty much like the Sunday routine. Church, then go and eat something, and then um, watch something, and then call mom, and then wind down. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have common denominators like enjoying a good show or movie and then having good food or going to a cafe. And I would just like to comment on Elle because I agree that it's actually like different and you just have to figure out what works for you because for her, like if she doesn't do all these chores in the weekend, then the Monday or the week ahead feels like starts off bad. But for me, many times it happened that I did not follow through the chores. Like there are clothes that are not washed, like the room is so messy. But then I was going out on that weekend for the whole day and then go home at like 11 p.m. And so even if there were like a lot of mess, I still feel so happy and recharged because I get to enjoy and go out. And so even if like it's different experience with Isle, it works for me because I think even if I feel so tired, like physically, like having to walk for a long time or just go from one place to another, it still recharge me in that manner. And so that works for me. So I guess, yeah, ultimately it just depends on what works for you. And you have to know which is more effective and what makes you feel recharged and happy.
Yeah, I find that that's really interesting that we all have kind of common denominators and that everything just kind of looks different but also the same. And so thanks team for sharing your own experiences, your own little routines that work for you. I think now is a good time to segue into our game of the episode. So I prepared a couple of prompts which we will be deciding whether these are scary Sunday night behaviors or just standard normal prep. So it's Sunday scary or standard. Okay. So we're going
Okay.
through each of the prompts and then each of the team decides whether it's a Sunday scary or a standard prep. Okay. So the first one being refreshing your inbox every hour on Sunday just in case. Scary or I'm going with scary as well
Every hour is bad
too. Okay, next. Staying up past midnight binging Netflix to avoid thinking about work. Scary or standard? I went with
Scary.
standard.
yeah
I went with standard because there are actually some shows or content creators that I follow and I actually look forward to their uploads. So watching their videos makes me feel calm after a work day. And so yeah, sometimes I do stay up past midnight to kind of catch up. How about you
yeah
guys?
I think for me I am going with like in the middle because the if it's really just staying up to stop thinking about work, then that is scary. But
Oh,
if it's in general enjoying watching that show, then I think that is all right. Yeah, so I'm going with like the middle. What about you, Jaya?
Yeah. Yeah, same with Ben. I said scary because if you're only doing it just to like avoid thinking work, then it's scary. But if you do it because you actually enjoy it without compromising your like work schedule, then yeah, it's standard to do it. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, next. Cleaning your entire apartment as a distraction from Monday. Scary or standard? I'm going with standard. I actually do this.
Because
Yes, that
oh, you are doing it. I want to
Yeah,
find you.
exactly why I went with standard because I do this. Okay, next. Lining up your Monday outfit on Saturday night. So I think this applies to like with what Ben mentioned, going on the on-site workshops or even if you have an on-site job. But let's just pretend that this is our routine. Lining up your Monday outfit on Saturday night. Scary or standard? I went with scary on this one.
standard for me.
I
Yeah,
see.
standard.
Okay. I
But
think, yeah, go ahead.
I think of when I was going, like, going to school with uniforms and then you will hang out the uniform there and, like just to prepare for the next day. So I think it's kind of standard.
I
Yeah.
see. I think because I'm like a late prepper, because it's like Monday, I'll usually try to prepare it on Sunday or even Monday mornings. So I think that's like, yeah, that's just kind of time wise. But anyway, next is scrolling on LinkedIn at 10 p.m. and suddenly comparing your career to everyone else's. Scary or standard? I want it scary.
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 No, that's not good. That's not a good
Mm.
time passer. Okay, next. Planning fake excuses in case you want to call in sick Monday morning. Scary or standard? I wanted scary as well.
Scary.
Fake excuses.
Okay, next. Rehearsing your Monday meeting talking points in the shower. So rehearsing your Monday meeting talking points in the shower. Scary or standard? I wanted scary. What
Scary.
about it, Ben?
Yeah, because I think sometimes I think about what I want to talk about in the meeting,
Mm,
and that is kind of like a mental prep, mental rehearsal. Of course, I don't say it out loud and like stay in front of the mirror and so do those power pose and all. But yeah, I kind of have that mental prep for myself. That's
yeah.
why I go with standard.
Yeah, I totally get that. I think I do the same. I used to do the same in college or high school where when we had a presentation, I would practice at home. So I totally get the preparation side of things. Anyway, next is pouring yourself a second coffee at 8 p.m. just to push off the dread. Scary or standard? I think it's scary.
Scary.
That's
Scary.
yeah. That's kind of scary as well because wouldn't you want to go to sleep if you're dreading something? So like drinking coffee just makes it worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Next. Grocery shopping late Sunday night just to feel in control. Scary or standard? This one I went
Putting.
with standard.
I think that's what you do.
Yeah. There was even a time when the grocery store was about to close and I was telling my boyfriend, oh, there's like 20 minutes left. We can still go. And you could clearly see like the employees prep like closing up already. And I was like, Fine, we'll just do this tomorrow. But then I was like, yeah, try to get the last bit of minute as possible. Okay, next. Checking Slack or Teams at bedtime just to get ahead. Scary or standard? I
Yeah.
think, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm 50-50 on this because I think it's normal to have a quick check to know what your week is going to look like. What about you, Jaya?
Yeah, like same. Like it's pretty common, but then maybe if you overdo it and then you end up dreaming about it instead. Like I think I did that before when it sounds like I would just check the email or like the message, and then that's before I sleep. But then I ended up dreaming about it, and so I felt like when I woke up, I was like, did I just work in my dream? Like that happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, next. Sending emails at 11 p.m. to show that you're on top of things. Scary or standard? For this one, I went with scary. What are your thoughts, Ben?
Yeah. Like sometimes I will last time when I'm working I will send email to like seem like okay I'm trying to prepare for the day ahead. Yeah. So it's really trying to clear off the items first, whatever that's
Right,
outstanding. Yeah.
right.
So that's for
Yeah,
me.
that makes sense. So, okay, next. This is the last prompt. Feeling physical symptoms like stomach aches every Sunday evening. Every Sunday evening. Scary or standard? I'm going
This
with
is super
scary.
scary.
Scary. Yeah.
Yeah. This sounds scary because now there's like physical manifestations of your own discomfort. So that
Yeah.
sounds scary. And it happening every Sunday, yeah, that sounds scary. It's
That's actually bad. So if anyone of the listeners are experiencing this, please go and speak to your doctor. I think this you need to pay attention to it. This is not good.
right. And thank you, team, for all of those. Yeah, that's kind of interesting how where which of the spectrum we kind of side in terms of these prompts. So now I want to segue the listeners into our actionable takeaways. So this is a part where we each share some practical tips on how to deal with Sunday scaries. And so, yeah, Jaya, do you want to go ahead?
All right. Okay. Yeah, for me, I only have two. Like, if you want to make Sunday nights feel less dreadful or scary, then I think you just need to do two things. Like, these are the ones that work for me. One is to plan ahead on Friday. So on a Friday shift before I log off, I just take a few minutes to jot down Monday's top priorities because having that game plan clears your head so that you're not mentally working all weekend without realizing it. And so you are already prepared for Monday, even if you're still working on a Friday. And then two is to use your weekends, Saturday and Sunday or whatever off you have to recharge, not just to recover. So instead of spending Sunday night dreading the week, try to fill both days with things that reset your energy. It could be a fun outing, a slow morning walk, time with loved ones, or even just getting enough sleep without setting an alarm. So for me, it's not about packing your weekend. It's about being intentional with how you rest and reset. How about you, Anne?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely relate to everything that you said. And we actually have pretty similar takeaways. So mine is to plan your weekend. And I agree that if you don't plan anything, I feel like the days will slip by very quickly. And so when Monday rolls around, you don't feel recharged at all. And you kind of wonder to yourself, why do I feel recharged? And I've been in that bed all day. And so this has happened to me many times. And so now, after learning through experience, I tend to plan at least one activity every weekend. As I mentioned earlier, it can be something as simple as going to the gym or walking inside the mall just to get some air conditioning, or even like visiting family or watching a movie. So simple activities that kind of help your brain shut off and just kind of relax. And so I feel much more energized doing these things instead of staying in bed all weekend. Sleep and rest is important, but I also feel like activities that help you rejuvenate yourself is as important as well. And the other thing for me is I feel that Sundays are sacred. So Saturday is when I like to have fun and kind of yeah, when I kind of like to have fun, and Sundays is for routine. And so on Sundays like to go to church and do my groceries and do some cleaning in the apartment. On Sundays, I do the tasks that enable me to save time for the rest of the week. And that could be grocery shopping, meal prepping, just cleaning up. And I like to treat Sundays like a catch up day or like an admin day for my life, for my food, my space. And I feel that doing these two things enable me to feel prepared for the rest of the week. You might not necessarily know what your week is going to look like. There could always be some possible tasks or projects that come along. But I feel that having a well prepared weekend helps clear your mind and kind of helps you get ready for whatever project or task that can come about during the week so you don't feel as stressed. It's almost like cleaning your plate for a new load of food, something like that. I don't know yet, but like cleaning the washing machine before putting in a new load. That's kind of what it feels like with weekends. And so, yeah, that's on my end. How about you, Ben?
Yeah, and I totally agree with what both of you have talked about. I think those are very practical, and um, I think in true iGrow fashion, I've prepared a acronym to kind of summarize this topic about Sunday scaries. And I think the point I want all of us to remember is to stay calm, ACALM, right? A calm. So A is to acknowledge the anxiety that we don't need to push it away. Don't fight it because when we label it, it reduces our mental tension. So acknowledging the anxiety is A. C is to challenge the catastrophes, right? And really asking ourselves, to allocate time for that. What are the worst things that can happen and how likely is it really? And A is to allocate preparation time. And the preparation time, like what both of you have mentioned, it could be 15 minutes, 30 minutes, on a Sunday evening. Just prepare lightly. It could be to set priorities, could be to lay out your clothes, to check your schedule, to have just enough to kind of reduce some of the chaos. So just have a peek around the corner of what the week lies ahead. So that prep time. And L is to list your wins and your strengths, right? To remember, like, what have I overcome? What are some of the things that I've done that I'm proud of, that I'm happy about during the week? And it could include the work week, it could include the weekend, maybe um, completing the things that makes me happy, that makes me feel recharged instead of recovering. So listing wins and strengths. And finally, the last one, M, is to make space for joy. To do something that you makes you feel grounded, not rushed. It could be a walk, a stretch, journal, game, music, watching a movie and stuff like that. So that is how we can stay calm, right? Acknowledge anxiety, C for challenge catastrophes, A for allocate preparation time, L for list your wins and strengths, and M to make space for joy. So that's from me.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ben. This is probably the 11th acronym that the listeners have taken away from us. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I hope that it's actually helpful for our viewers, our listeners, and that feeling stressed or anxiety before the work week begins is completely normal, as you have heard from our own experiences. And I hope that you took away something helpful for your own experiences and just kind of almost like a food for thought or something to save or bookmark in your head. And so thank you so much to our entire team for sharing your own insights and stories today. That's actually it for today's coffee break. Thanks for hanging out with us in the break room. Don't forget to share this with your favorite work buddy, and if you've got thoughts, rants, or feels, slide into our DMs or comment down below. We're at iGo Online on most platforms. And remember, your well being matters even between meetings. Catch you next time, guys. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.